Welcome to Talk It Out with Marla P. I'm your host, Marla, and I'm so excited about today's episode. We're going to dive into some important topics about healing from trauma, reclaiming your power, and building healthy relationships. If you've been through toxic relationships or narcissistic abuse, or if you're just someone looking to reconnect with your own strength, you're going to find this episode very informative. Today, I'm joined by Darla, a certified somatic trauma informed coach, relationship expert, speaker, and podcaster. Darla has a powerful story of overcoming narcissistic abuse herself, and now she's on a mission to help women do the same, guiding them to process past trauma, rebuild their self worth, and embrace their personal strength. Darla, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Glad to have you. Glad to have you. Let's just dive in. Can you share a bit about your personal healing journey from narcissistic abuse and how that shaped your approach to coaching?
Yeah, absolutely. So 20 years ago, I met a very handsome, charming man, and that's how it usually goes, with the love
Yeah.
bombing and all that. Everything I thought he was everything I ever wanted. And after 10 years and 6 years of marriage, I realized that what I thought was the fairy tale life really was just quite frankly a nightmare. And I didn't even know until a year after I left that I had been abused.
Oh,
I had
wow.
no idea. I didn't know what a narcissist looked like. I had this idea of a more of an overt person who's like the sleazy car salesman or the jerk, where he was more covert. So he was extremely good looking, he was very charming, and he manipulated me very subtly. And I don't know if you're familiar with the typical circle, the cycle where it's love bomb, devalue, discard. And so
Yes.
yes. So, there's this initial period of he's very attentive and he's noticing I was actually married at the time. Like, hello, that should have a red flag right there. He was his quote unquote friend. But, after that period of love bombing, he started to make snide comments or, oh, I think you really should wear black because I like pastels and bright colors. I think you look better in black. And I wanted to please him. I wanted him to be attracted to me because at that point I was codependent and I was not able to basically think for myself. Like, I
Right.
was more focused on him liking me than me really thinking about, "Is this in my best interest?" I like hot pink, and I think I'll wear it anyway, and you can love
Right.
me or not, right?
Right.
But, it was a long series of what I call the drip effect, where you have a rock in a river, and on a daily basis, you don't see that river eroding that rock, but if you go back 10 years later, the rock
Mhm.
is either severely eroded or not there, and that's kinda how narcissistic abuse goes. He's just one piece at a time chipped away at my confidence, at my tenacity, made me into what he wanted me to be, and then
Wow.
ended up not wanting me anyway.
Oh my goodness. Now let me just make sure I heard you correctly. So
Okay.
your husband, was he a friend of your current husband?
Yeah, he was.
Wow.
Yeah, I think that's actually the first time I've publicly said that, but yeah,
Oh, really?
he
Okay.
was.
Okay. So, what was the turning point in your life when you decided to turn your experiences into a source of empowerment for others?
Mhm. My big turning point was a few months later as I was going through the divorce process. I was what they call trauma bonded. I had Stockholm
Yep.
syndrome, so I was still spending time with him. I was calling, we're texting him every day, and I did not realize I was actually dealing with an addiction because I had become addicted to his love. And
Right.
I really got severely depressed, and I found myself sobbing face down on the floor in my apartment one day, and I was planning my suicide. I was planning how to take my life. How am I gonna shoot myself properly so I do it right the first time and don't end up a vegetable?
Oh,
And
no.
as I'm contemplating that, I realized if I took my life, he was telling everyone I was crazy, and I wasn't, and I wouldn't be here to defend myself. And that really, honestly, is the only thing that stopped me. And it was
Mhm.
that moment of surrender. That's when it
Right.
began. When I cried out to my higher power and I said, there's no way I can continue to live like this. And I don't know how to fix it. So if I don't do this today, you better show up and show me how.
Oh, my.
That's when the counselor came into my life and said, "Do you understand that this is an abusive relationship?" Which I did not. And I
Mhm.
denied it to her face, like, "No, you don't know what you're talking about."
Mhm.
And I was very involved in a spiritual center, and they were wonderful about supporting me. I really got rid of anyone in my life that didn't have my highest good in mind, and it really went down to 4 or 5 strong women that really helped me through that time.
Oh, wow.
These 11 years have been really phenomenal, and there's been stop starts, this past year and especially these past 2 to 3 months have been another transfer, like high speed transformation, and
Mhm.
so each relationship I've been in, I've learned now these aren't failures, these are learning experiences,
Absolutely.
right?
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Wow. So, what were some of the most challenging parts of your own recovery, and how did you navigate through those moments?
A couple things come to mind, and one is, I attracted 2 more narcissists. I went on, like, an 8-year period and didn't attract any, and while I did get married and that didn't work out, within a
Mhm.
2-year period between 22 and 24, I attracted 2 more. So that was really a frustrating in that first time that I attracted the second one, I got super frustrated with myself because I had worked so hard on my healing and I thought I was better, but I went into a support group, and one
Mhm.
of the first things they told me was, "First of all, stop beating yourself up. You made the
Right.
best decision you could in that moment,
Mhm.
and second of all, they're really good at what they do, aren't they? They're
They
so good
are.
at manipulating."
Yes. Yes. Good for you.
Yeah.
Good for you. Could you explain what it means to be somatic in trauma healing? How does focusing on the body help people process past trauma?
Yes. So I have been trained by Caroline Strawson. I don't know if you're familiar with her, but she's an expert in narcissistic abuse. And I
Mm.
followed her during my divorce. And she teaches somatics is our nervous system and our body.
Right. Hmm.
So when we have a traumatic experience, not only does our brain file that somewhere, but our body physically files it. And I explain it like a needle in a record. And if we don't physically release it, it gets stuck. And we may not
Yes.
even be aware that it's happening. But what's happening is your behaviors or your reactions are actually a reflection of that hurt. So, for example, for me, I was neglected as a child by my mom. I had an abusive father. I often felt like I wasn't heard. And so I had an experience last year where I had to have a major repair done on my car, and it was taking a long time. And I first went down that road of, oh, I'm a woman. They're just blowing me off. But I
Hmm.
woke up in the middle of the night in this major rage about it. Like, it's okay to be upset. I get that. But why am I so upset at 3 in the morning, 5 in the morning when I can't do anything about this? And
Right.
through my own training, so I first got in tune with my current body sensations. What's going on inside of me? And so my
Hmm.
throat feels really, really tight. That can be an indication of I don't have a voice.
Hmm.
Then what I did with myself, like I do with my clients, is okay, when did I feel like this before? What was a past experience where this really feels very similar? And I realized went all the way back to age 4.
Mm.
And this is my first memory of my father destroying the house because he couldn't find a piece of paper. And of course, at 4, he's tall, he's big, he's huge, and he's screaming and he's yelling and he's throwing things, and my mom's screaming and yelling, and I'm terrified. And remember holding on to my mom's legs and not wanting to be anywhere near him, and she forced me to hug him, and even though I didn't want to.
Yes.
And I know it might sound like a crazy thing, but I'm like,
Hmm.
there it is. There it is. I didn't feel heard, and this has been a pattern of mine my whole life.
Right. Right. Oh, wow. Interesting.
Mhm.
So, how does the nervous system get stuck in trauma? And what are some ways to begin shifting that pattern?
A lot of times, like, I still have suppressed memories from my second marriage. I still have them. So
Mhm.
sometimes it comes in the form of that. It becomes a suppressed memory, or it's just something we just don't remember because we were young, or
Mhm.
we know we remember it, but we don't realize that it is actually affecting us. W So, a good example is, I'm working in a mastermind right now, And last
Okay.
night, we were talking about our body sensations, and, the lady that's running it said, "Okay, when you think about this particular situation, where is that stressful feeling?" And I said, "It's like a tightness in my chest and my throat." Once again, I didn't feel hurt in this situation, almost like a tickle. So
Right.
we're gonna sit there and be aware of it. That's the first thing. Let's sit and give it space, the
Mhm.
memory or the sensation. And sometimes that's uncomfortable.
Right. Absolutely.
And so she says, flip it. If it things were going the way you wanted it to,
Mhm.
envision that in a meditation. And after the meditation, she goes, now where do you feel the positive part? And I said, oh, it's in my chest, but it's like a vibration, like I'm tingling. So
Mhm.
she said, the next time you're in that situation, say, you know what, fear, I see you. Acknowledge it.
That's
I
right.
see you. I feel you. Thank you for the information. Take a hike. And that was we didn't
Right.
say it that way. We swear a lot in this group, but I didn't know what your rules were, so I had to follow them. But, and then envision that envision that and bring that sensation into your body. Redirect that sensation.
Mhm.
Does that make sense?
It does. It makes a lot of sense.
Mhm.
It's awesome. That is awesome. Wow. So how do you help, someone rebuild trust in themselves and in future relationships after narcissistic abuse?
Yeah. So my core mantra has become that we have to have a good relationship and a healthy relationship with ourselves before we can
Mhm.
have a healthy relationship with anyone.
I agree with that.
And yeah, when we're dysfunctional, we attract dysfunctional people. I've been there, done that. The first thing for I think with a healthy relationship is really investing in ourselves and getting to know who we are.
I
And that
agree.
really was something that started with me just over a year ago.
Mhm.
And I thought I've loved, the whole Pollyanna. I love myself. No, I didn't. I didn't even know who I was. So that's the first thing. I tell people, whether you're in a relationship or not, start investing in yourself. Do something for yourself every week that's just about you by yourself, whether it's gardening or you go out to dinner. I take myself on a date every week, whether it's a new restaurant or I go to a museum or a hike.
Mhm.
I think once we start investing in ourselves, that's a good first step because then we're going to start to see our value. We're going to start enjoying our own company.
And that's important.
It combats that codependency that a lot of us tend to lean towards, right?
Mhm.
And then I think a really important thing is to think, and this is probably, I would say, like kind of a next step is boundaries. Cause boy, that can be hard.
Mhm.
Boundaries. I have no problem with boundaries with others, but I've had to work on boundaries with myself. That's my work right now. And boundaries, is in love. And those can be said with I statements. I was extremely aggressive. I'm an East Coaster. So I had to learn I can say the same thing. I had to
Mhm.
learn to say it in a different way. You are a jerk. You always do this, gets you
Mhm.
nowhere.
That's
But if
right.
you say, I really value consistent communication.
Mhm.
When you call me instead of texting me, I really prefer that because I enjoy connecting with you and hearing your voice versus, why don't you ever call me? All I get from you is these texts. You hear the
That's true.
difference?
Yes. Yes. That's huge. Wow. So what is the role of boundaries in healing?
I think we have to have boundaries with ourselves. We have to start with ourselves. I think boundary, first of all, that's a good question about where to start with that. I would say, let's pretend we're just starting in our healing journey.
Okay.
I believe in baby steps.
Yes.
Maybe having a boundary that you do something every day just to sit in a quiet moment, take 5 minutes, even 10 minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, whether that's meditation, taking a
Mhm.
walk in nature, reading a personal development book.
Right.
Have that boundary that I'm going to invest in me, first of all.
Mhm.
Also, one of the things, like, I think about, like, in dating that I've totally changed over this past year, and it's been phenomenal, is having a boundary of where the respect comes in and how I can evaluate that is I no longer, in the past, "Oh, does he like me? Oh, I better make sure he likes me." Now, it's not about
Mhm.
how I feel about that other person. It's about how do they make me feel. So if I feel unsafe whether that is I feel disrespected or I just get an uncomfortable feeling, that boundary within myself is to be okay with speaking up.
Mm.
And if that person runs, particularly if it's early, boy, they just did you a favor.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah.
Now, do you believe in the law of attraction?
Yes, very much so.
And why
Yeah.
so?
Well, I'm right in the middle of it right now. Yeah, as I mentioned, I'm sitting in a hotel room. So I decided 10 days ago that I was going to move from Arizona to Colorado.
Oh, wow.
And I'm here. I've just spent the past 4 days apartment hunting, and I've got some challenges. I'm still building a business, and I quit my job 9 months ago. So I have to convince these people that my money is good. I've got money. It's not in
Right.
the traditional sense. I'm a
Uh-huh.
business owner and I'm a new business owner.
Mhm.
So for me, the law of attraction is as I drove here, I said to the universe, I know we all have our own word. I don't know what yours is. Mine's universe.
Mhm.
Guide me to the right places. And if it is the right place, put it upon that person's mind that this is the person I want. So that's one example.
Mhm.
And I have to tell my landlord by the end of the month what I'm going to do. But
Wow.
I actually canceled an appointment for tomorrow morning because it was in another city that I decided I don't really want to live in. But when we talk about romantic relationships in the law of attraction.
Mhm.
So that's where that self-love comes in because I think when we become the person
Right?
that we want in our lives. We're the ones who are respectful. We were the ones that are present. We are the ones that are truthful. We naturally raise our vibration, and a healthy person is going to pick up on that because I will bet you money. I have no proof, but I will bet you money that in the past, a healthy person, a healthy man has walked right by me and not mentally seen me because
Mm.
I wasn't vibrating at his level.
Wow. I mean, because you often hear people say, well, you attract who you are.
Mhm.
And to a degree, I agree with that, you know? I agree with that. Wow.
One thing I kind of a caveat, it doesn't mean we're never gonna not attract unhealthy people, particularly with narcissists. They are
Mhm.
actually very attracted to strong women because they like breaking them down. But I think the
Yes.
difference is because I ended up not even going out on a date with this guy last year, but I picked up on something. I can't say he's a narcissist, I don't know him that well. At the
Mhm.
very least, he breadcrumbed me, but I picked up on negative red flags much earlier, where before I
Mhm.
wouldn't have. So there is that caveat, but I do think that we have that better chance of attracting more of what we want. Okay, but go ahead.
No, that's true. That's true. Well, I was going to ask you, like, what are some of the key tools or techniques you use in your somatic coaching to help clients rebuild their self worth?
I primarily ask questions.
Mm.
First of all, that means I don't have to have the answers because I don't have all the answers. I just
Yeah.
don't. But what I like to do is ask questions. So we're going to figure out, first of all, what we want to do in that session. How do you feel now? And how do you wanna feel about this certain situation when this hour is over?
Right.
And then we're gonna do the whole, "Okay, tell me about the body sensation, where does that connect?" And I'm just gonna kinda investigate a little bit about that previous situation. "Okay, tell me more about that, what that happened." Not only what how you felt or it's hard to like, there's no specific script.
Mhm.
Whatever
Mhm.
comes out, comes up. But basically, I'm gonna ask questions because I wanna help. If I tell you what to do, first of all, that's none of my business. It's not my right. But second of
Right.
all, if we come to our own conclusions and create our own aha moments from a neurological standpoint, that lands a lot better and it sticks.
Yes. I agree with
She
that.
has that knowledge. She just doesn't know it.
Mhm. Mhm.
Mhm.
Wow. So, what common patterns do you see in the relationships of women who come to you for coaching?
Mhm. I see a lot of codependency and people pleasing. A lot of it. I think as women, we want we want to be liked, we
Yes.
wanna be pleasing, we want our partner to but I have to say some guy said to me the other day, "Oh, you're so sweet," and my stomach turned. And I think it's because and maybe he didn't mean it in a bad way, but I sometimes when men say that, I almost feel like it's more like compliance. So I
Yeah.
think that as women, we're afraid to stand up. And I've been really well, I have been outspoken. I've been better about speaking as to why I have an issue or why I'm saying no. I'm not over explaining,
Mhm. Mhm.
but I've been carrying this feeling that if I say the reason I'm not going to rent your house is because it's kind of run down and I'm looking for something that's kept better, which is something I did on Saturday. Where
Really?
before I would have been like, "Oh, I changed my mind." I would bloat, like, not really tell them the truth,
Mhm. You
but
should a little bit.
I'm giving yeah, I decided to I said it kindly, like, "Hey, this isn't what I'm looking for, you know, thank you for the time." But I think as women, we're afraid to really say what's on our minds. At least that's been my experience as a woman.
Right. Right. I agree with that.
Mhm.
Oh, wow. Mm. This is really interesting. Good
But
information.
yeah.
Really good information. So what would you say to someone who feels stuck in their healing process?
Yeah, I'm thinking about when I felt stuck. What would have helped me? Something that really helps me when I feel stuck, it's gonna go back to that quiet moment,
Mhm.
and that's how this whole move happened. I went camping the weekend before and turned my phone off for 3 days. Now, I'm not saying you have to do that. We all have responsibilities. You might have children, and you can't go off to camp in the desert for 3 days with no phone. But the point was is that in order I think if someone if they're saying I'm stuck, that to me says they know they're stuck. Like, that is the first step. If you know you're stuck, you know that change needs to happen. You just don't know how.
Right. Right.
And I would say maybe take a day and go on a hike. Maybe go somewhere quiet. Don't go with a friend, go by yourself. Be in
Mm.
nature or take a day to be quiet and alone. Because what I'm finding is whatever our divine intervention or messages that we need to hear in that moment, when
Mhm.
we have all these distractions like our phone, our TV, other people in our lives, the things that are our responsibilities, our jobs, there's so much static going on we can't hear.
That's right. That is so true. So do you encourage self-care to a lot of
I
your
do.
clients? Mhm.
100%. Self-care, whether that's a massage or just in the bath, if you wanna just have a hot bath or what's my favorite dessert. And also
Mhm.
too, if you're inclined, I'm 100% about go to a support group for whatever it is you're struggling with, or find a coach or find a licensed therapist. Sometimes, because I am seeing a coach right now, I'm seeing a coach for my personal development right now, and she
Right.
picked up on something yesterday like, having someone who's on the outside looking in can
Mhm.
see it from such a different light. I'm attached to it. She's not.
That's true. That is so true.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
true. Wow. How can people start reconnecting with their bodies and nervous system on like to heal from trauma?
I would say make it a concerted effort that when you are stressed to take stop for a minute and say,
Mhm.
"Where is it? Where am I feeling it?" And how you can kind of reorient yourself is if you have a moment. If you're in the middle of something, what you can do is take some deep breaths. The deep breathe in for 4, hold for 4, let go for 4. Sometimes we're like in a meeting and we're getting attacked by someone. We can't say, "Excuse me, I'm going to go
Mhm.
meditate for 10 minutes." We have to do it and not be obvious. But if you
Right.
have the ability to sit with your feet flat on the floor to ground yourself and maybe kind of notice things in the room. These are also things you can do without anyone knowing as well. Those are the things you can do. Oh, I'm feeling it here. Wow, I feel that tightness in my chest. Acknowledge it. Don't stuff it down.
Mhm.
I hear you. I see you. Thank you for the information.
Okay. Okay. As we wrap up, what is a final message you like to leave with women who are working towards reclaiming their power and personal strength?
I would say no matter how many times you fall down, get back
Mhm.
up. Tomorrow's day one. I'll tell you, I'm a coach and I make mistakes all the time. And I had a pretty hard knockdown just 3 months ago with a breakup. And I
Mhm.
took some time for myself to just grieve and be okay with that. But I said, I gave myself permission, first of all, to grieve. We can give
Sure.
ourselves permission. Do you know what? I'm upset.
Mhm. Mhm.
It's okay. It doesn't matter how many times you fall, it's all that matters is how many times you get back up.
That is true. That is true. How can our listeners connect with you and learn more about your work if they want to, dive deeper into your approach? What are your social media handles, your website, or
My website is highvaluewoman.info. And
Mhm.
all my social media, I'm on Facebook and Instagram, YouTube. I have a podcast as well called You Have the Power, the
Nice.
Road to Recovery from Trauma and Narcissistic Abuse. Yes,
Uh,
I've been soloing. I'm going to bring on some guests pretty soon too, so I'm excited. But yeah, if you want to, I have email list if you're interested in that, or if you just want to kind of things out and see
mhm.
what's kind of interest you. Yeah,
Awesome. Oh, but Darla, it's been a pleasure. I truly enjoyed speaking with you, learning more about you, your willingness to share your expertise, your stories. It's been a pleasure.
it has, and as well for me. Thank you.
Thank you.